Welcome back to the No Rappers Left Behind project. My name is Chris Frasinke,
I'm Matt Creates.
and this is our attempt at coming up with a best albums of the year so far. Before we get too far into this, there are a few people we want to thank first and foremost. I'd like to thank Wolf, our engineer for the day. Shout out to WTF Media Studios. Shout out to Weezy. Shout out to Alex, co-founders. Shout out to Dylan Green, who's the author of the New Music newsletter. That's how we kind of find out about all of the drops that come out throughout the year. And thank you, Matt, for putting up with my insanity.
Of course, anytime, man, anytime.
Okay, so when the original idea for this video was to come up with a top 5 for the year. And because I am just so ridiculous, I was like, ooh, let me come up with like a ridiculous top 5 that like once you start to dive into it kind of made sense, but on face value was just absurd. And so I kind of have a few albums that like I want to talk about, but I'm going to let you start because you actually did the assignment as asked, as conventional, as most people would expect.
So
We'll start with 5.
Yeah. Dude, I know what I'm doing.
Oh, pardon.
For number 5, I have Alpha House with Nux. This was my first introduction to UK drill. I've never listened to UK drill before. So when I was going through the monthly listens for the project, I was just like, oh, Alpha House by Nux. This seems relatively cool. Let me just go listen to it. And our first song alone, just Nux's storytelling is truly amazing. The way he just talks about his life and how he grew up in the ends of London and how he was a bad influence growing up, and then just infusing that with the saxophone by Venna in the first track is crazy. I love the song Hide and Seek, Nice and Good with SL. SL's feature on that song is hilarious, and he just gives you straight bars.
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons why it's so entertaining to like you listen to UK drill, like I know some people are just like, oh, like I can't get past the accents. The accents I find to me, the accents are fine to me. Who the fuck am I? I think it's like easy to get over the accents once you like are open to give it a chance. But I also think that one of the things that is just like so appealing is just that like UK slang that just sounds absurd to us in the States, right?
Yeah.
Like a gun being swammy, like what's the line? Like knife in my hand, don't need no swammy. And it's like all right, like that's crazy. And oh man, what else is it like?
Oh my god, the sample on Leon the Professional. That's
yeah.
Because I don't know the specific artist off the top of my head, but I know I've heard the sample previously, and I recognized it when the first time listening to this song, and him just describing Leon and Leon's story, I was just like, man, like this Nux's storytelling is top tier, especially in the UK drill scene.
Yeah, no, it's a really good album, top to bottom. I actually, after it came out, I was in London. I went to go see Cousin Reese for like a little bit, and a few other friends, and it's different out there. But yeah, that is an album that I really enjoy, and glad that it made your top 5 list. I think that when we were talking before, there were a few, or when you were drafting this list, there were a few other albums that were in that number 5 spot.
Yeah,
that this kind of ended up.
I think it was just for me, so like for myself, it was just like the replay value, and I just see myself coming back to this album every single day. From the first 5 tracks of the album to Leon the Professional and Los Boyos Hermanos, like top to bottom, this album is just a straight banger. And I hope that Nux gets like more people get to listen to his music, because I know like he's only doing shows in like England and Europe. So when enough people in the States get the chance to listen to him and he finally gets to come to the States and do his tours and has a bigger audience, like I can't wait, because I know I can't wait to see him in concert.
Yeah, shout out to, hopefully this shout out helps get that done. Shout out to Al Damashek and the whole crew over at Move Forward Music. They used to have nights where like they would essentially just have like different foreign, like essentially rent out a venue and have like a theme night. So like one night would be like UK drill or grime, you know, maybe they'd have another night that was like French rap. And so, hey, if you guys need an artist that would be good to bring to the States, Nux is the one for the year for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you like where I left off with my list, right?
I got you.
So I think I got to the point where I was just like coming up with like an actual list of the top 5 is just like,
It's hard, man. It really
I mean,
is.
it's so difficult, and like I think that there's so many different subgenres of rap, right? Some days I really want to listen to just like maybe something like super underground, like an Elzai. Other days, like, I want to go listen to CLB, right? And so I tried to like put them in these different categories, and so like my number 5 category essentially was like, what do I want to listen to when I just want to have a good time? It doesn't necessarily have to be like the best of bars, but the music itself, production wise, is good, and it's also just like witty and fun, and like I play this around just like everybody, and you know that the vibe is just gonna be good. So the 2 albums that I split between,
Is Gunna wanna?
of course,
Yeah.
of course,
That shit.
Gunna was one of them, but the second was I Know Nigo.
Oh shit. Yeah.
That Pharrell compilation album. So I think he put that together with Nigo of Bape. I'm not sure if he's the co-founder or whatever he said,
Yeah.
but he is associated with Bape, right? Like you can't separate the two. And just running through that track list really quick, you've got that first song, Lost and Found freestyle. You've got Tyler and Rocky, which is always a good combo. You got ASAP Rocky with Arya, and that music video was fly. It's ASAP Rocky in a Gucci mansion, right? Like it's just everything you kind of want from him, right? Punch Bowls is Clips getting off rich nigga shit, like rapping about things that I have yet to shit that I didn't know that I couldn't afford. But it's just like, all right, cool. I've got my aspirations there. Want It Bad with Kid Cudi. It's more of a houseier vibe than I like, but it's cool. It's Cudi.
Yeah.
Teriyaki Boys. It's not for me, but it's also like barely in English, right? So it's like, all right, cool. Like it's for another audience. Paper Plates with Ferg.
Nah, that song.
Oh my god, that song bumps. That song is ridiculous. There is a ASAP Ferg, I think is. I was almost gonna say that he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, but ASAP Ferg is one of those artists where it's just like, oh no, you could play him and you know that everybody's gonna have a good time, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just one of those ones. And I've seen Ferg perform at just like a wide array of venues. I saw him at Toad's Place back in, this may have been like 2014. It was like him and YG, and I remember YG had like a million bloods on the stage and rode onto the stage in like a golden tricycle, right? Like it was just crazy. And like immediately after that, like Ferg comes on, and I think like the Ferg Somnia mixtape was out at the time. That mixtape is also just like ridiculous, but just like a lot of fun. And so you just get that just like insane, but just like a good party Ferg that like most people I'm sure have experienced at like the festival level. Because he's one of those people that you have at a festival. It's not if, ands, or buts about it. Like ASAP Ferg is just gonna like turn everything up. So he does that again here. You get another great song from him with Paper Plates. Then you got Hear Me Clearly with Pusha T. One of my favorite Pusha T songs, not only ever, but on the album. And like this came out before the album dropped, and so this was like a great sampling of what was to come.
Yeah.
Then you had Remember with Pop Smoke. I usually don't like posthumous pop records. This was one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Then you've got Heavy
Nah, that's my song. Right
with Lil Uzi rapping over drill beats.
Yeah.
And it's so good. And then Tyler wraps up with Come On, Let's Go. So they're like, that is flawless to me, right? Like this is just a really fun fucking record. And I have talked to death about Drip Season Forever. And I won't do the same like track for track list because we've already done this somehow, some way. I'll find a way to like snip it into this. But there are 20 records on that album, and about 15 of them I play pretty consistently. And that's kind of just like where I was thinking was just like, if I'm just having a good time, like, or if I just want to have a good time, like what am I putting on just casually? And so the number 5 is split between I Know Nigo and Drip Season Forever.
Okay. My number 4 spot goes to More Black Superheroes by Westside Boogie. The intro track alone just like you ever like were in school and they wanted you to write a hook whenever you wrote your essays and stuff like that? Like
A hook?
yeah, like something to like grab the.
Yeah. I thought you had a songwriting class or something. I was gonna say, bro, we went to the same school, bro. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
This nigga. Oh my god.
All right. Sorry.
Anyways, Killer Mode is the first track on West Side Boogie's album. The chorus just grabs you. It's just so infectious. When West Side's vocals and Storm, hold up, I gotta look. Storm. Her name is Storm. Storm's vocals infused together. It just makes the chorus so much more special. And then his verse on that song alone, it was just like, bitch, I'm a product of war. Fuck is you being so positive for? Like, he was just flowing on that so well. And we can go into Stuck, where he talks about how he loves his hood and that's where he wants to remain. And he loves the people around him, what he grew up in. We could talk about the song Nonchalant. How he'd rather not be bothered by certain things, but in reality, he wants everything to be surrounded by him and wants people to care about him. LOL SMH part 2. In the song, she says something about how you a bitch ass nigga and you still in therapy, and then the beat switch goes in, and
yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the album.
And he just starts running the track on that too. Can't Even Lie with the Soulja Boy feature. Now Soulja Boy, he ain't it's Soulja Boy. I ain't gonna
put some respect on that man's name, bro. He was the first to do everything.
Relax. But just Can't Even Lie is just, it was such a grimy feel. It was just like, yeah, I'm about to rap about this. You ain't gonna say shit about it. Like he was, it was one of them ones. Like
okay.
he was talking his shit on the record.
Yeah.
I think he has a record on there called Can't Get Over You with Smino and Tizo Touchdown.
Yeah, I love Smino feature, and they just do not miss, right, man? It's like Ty Dolla $ign, bro. It's just like, yeah, no, when he's on, he's on.
Yeah. And then one of the final tracks on the record was the song Anthony, how he reflects not having a father figure in his life and how his father left him. So that's the reason why he wants to be a great father to his kids, indicating the more black superheroes, because he feels like he's a superhero to his children.
Yeah, I really like that album as well, and he did an interview with Rory and Mal where he kind of just like talked through just like the production of it and like the songwriting process. And one of the things that he commentated on was, or that he said was, that he's a rapper that's always that like really just wants to be an R&B nigga.
Yeah.
He said he can't sing, and so we like get like. I've always thought that, like, how many melodic songs we get from him was always kind of just like, oh, this is an interesting thing to get from him. But it all makes sense now. And I think that one of the things that I really appreciate about music, and part of the reason that we're, like, giving away so many concert tickets is that, like, we want people to go live with the music. Like, it completely means something different when you actually have some kind of human or personal like relationship with it.
Yeah.
And so like listening to his interview was just like really good, and I would definitely recommend everybody go check that out. It was phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a 4 spot? Do you want me to go to 3?
No. Well, I got a little something. At 4, and I was getting like creative with the titles too. I was like, is Griselda a record imprint or a subgenre? I mean, you just get so many Griselda projects throughout the year that I feel like you can kind of stack them up against each other. I think that this is gonna probably be a really unpopular take, but I think my favorite Griselda project to drop since, and I guess we're technically counting like the year starting with like December last year, right? Because oftentimes like those albums get like overshadowed, right? Because even if you really want to get into it, Nardo Wick could have been in the conversation for like just fun albums.
Definitely
right?
could.
And that was a December drop. But for is Griselda a imprint or a subgenre? I'm giving it to Boldy James and Alchemist. Super Tecmo Bro.
Yeah.
That's just one of those ones, and I think when we're talking about just like album through and through, it's a shorter one for sure. But I think that the shortness of that album kind of creates a landscape where like they couldn't afford to miss, right? Like I think that I love the Conway tape, love the Benny tape, obviously Peace Fly God, love that too, and everything else that is dropped. But when I'm talking top to bottom, that's the one for me. I think that there is just something about how monotonous Boldy James's tone is against the backdrop of like those beats from Alchemist that almost sound like the soundtrack to like a blaxploitation film, and the way in which like Boldy just paints like this vivid depiction of just like, man, this fucking underworld, right? Like the world that Boldy James lives in is just like, oh, like I'm so glad that I only have to like listen to this. Like I'm very glad I don't have to see this for life. And I think that even like even the core the feature that he has on there, Ice Cold Bishop. Do you remember that feature, bro?
It's something about mom's Jeep or something like that. Hold up.
I don't think so.
That's not the one? I swear it is. Hold on, I gotta...
It may be, but I don't think so. Essentially, it is just like the most sporadic. It's almost like Danny Brown-ish, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe I'm just misremembering like it slightly, but man, it is just so incredible. And like, again, shout out to, I can go on forever about how underrated Detroit is as a city, but the noise that's coming out of there is undeniable.
That's the one where he was like back and forth, shell casing scattered across the concrete.
Yeah.
That's the mom Jeep, bro.
You're
Thank
scattered.
you.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Come
You're absolutely
on,
right.
bro.
But yeah, so that's the project that I go back to the most, and I think that there are definitely songs, because Conway was my second. Like there are songs on the back of that Conway album. Let me pull them up specifically. That I think I like more so than if I were to go song for song. But as a whole, in aggregate, that Boldy Jams tape, man, it's really good. It's Chanel Pearls with Jill Scott, man. I love that song. And even the last one, God Don't Make Mistakes, bro. Yeah, like the back half of, I mean, the Conway project is so fucking good. But the one that I go back to the most is Boldy James, Alchemist, Super Tecmo, bro.
And shout out to the Alchemist, because the production on this album is insane.
Yeah,
like,
it's so crazy.
I was arguing with him. I was like, I don't know. The Alchemist kind of put Boldy James in the best position in the world.
Don't be pussy, just say it. You said that Alchemist carried Boldy James, and and I said no, that's not true. Boldy was on there getting his shit off, and man, dude, it's just so good. But yeah, so that was my number 4.
Number 3. I'm really excited about this one. It's called "Learn to Swim" by Redveil. Now, I stumbled across this album off the April.
Stumbled across this album, bro.
Because
you got it in a newsletter.
Off the April list, right? And because he didn't listen to this album, so the fact that we do this project and he didn't listen to this album is crazy to me.
No, I probably did, but I just don't remember. But anyway, go ahead.
But it was.
Sorry.
But the tracks, the whole album. First off, Redveil is this DMV rapper. He's from Maryland, and he self-produced this whole entire album. So, and he's only 18 years old. So
okay,
I was just like, all right, this is truly impressive. Songs like "Together," "Diving Board," "PG Baby," and "Shoulder." He used such like neo jazz samples that like he used in the song "PG Baby." He used "Love Me or Leave Me" by Band of Thieves, and then on the song "New Info," he used a sample from "Reflections" by Albert Jones. Those 2 beats alone are insane, and when he raps, he kind of reminds me of like more commercially like Earl Sweatshirt in a way. Like he just flows over beats so well. Like the beat switching home was a really good moment in this project. Also, the song "New Info" and just like him being lyrically sound on it. He was switching from like giving you bars and then just like infusing with the melodies that he was producing on this album. Like this whole album is crazy, from the cover alone to just the music that he put out. And yeah, this got my 3 spot for sure. The transitions in this album were insane, and songs from songs 1 through 14, I was just like, nah, this is a really good album. I can't wait to listen more to Redville because this is my first introduction to him. And yeah, I think you might call me crazy for this because I know you've never listened to these songs, but I think Together and PG Baby are like 10 out of 10 songs. Like,
Yeah, I will do my homework and get to him. It's a shame that I haven't. I apologize. Give me all the demerits. So that was your number three. For my number three, I think I was going with the subgenre that I was, or like the subcategory I was calling New York, New York. Right. This was just like what really feeds to my New York bias the most. And there were three albums that I had that were in that spot. So the first was Bodego Bam's Vivir. The second was Nimlo, Smoke Dizza, and 183rd Diplomatic Community. And what ultimately ended up winning was Nas's Magic. I cannot say enough good things about Nas's Magic. I know that when I was... So that's another December drop, which is, part of the reason why we're wrapping that month in. I was... When did I first listen to that? Mom and I were going to Ghana. And it was one of the albums that I had just like downloaded to just like listen to while I was on the plane. And I remember like starting to listen to it when I was in the airport and being like, holy shit, this is too good just to casually listen to, right? Or like, this is too good to listen to the way that I was listening to that Joey Badass album. But man, dude, Nas is up there. Like, I think in the previous projects that he had done with Hit Boy, it was often said that Hit Boy was carrying, right? Or it was just like, oh, everyone, like, you'd get some, like, really good Nas songs, or, like, you'd get Nas rapping, like, really well, but the quality would falter, right? I think most people thought relatively positively of them, right? Because you've got a song with Nas and Lauryn Hill on there that, I mean, to me is historic, right? Like that shit is legendary. But on Magic, I felt like they were on par with one another. Like 4016 Buildings is like usually the one that I like recommend to people. Like, hey, like even if they're like you and they were like, oh, bro, I don't want to listen to Nas, bro. He's 50 years old. What am I listening to this nigga for? No, you can barely tell, not by the way he's rapping. And so, yes. Shout out to the Bronx first and foremost. Going back to Diplomatic Community because the producer 183rd on that. Smoke Dizza, who I don't even really listen to that often, but like on here he was going off. And Nimlo, I hadn't heard of Nimlo before, but this made me a Nimlo fan. This is one of those albums where as soon as I hop in the car, like this is my default listen. And Bodega Bam's, he's just doing it for Harlem, man. Like it's really good. That album has no skips to me.
no, I agree with you. When you played it, like I was talking shit before I listened, and after I listened, I was like, okay, this nigga still got some. He still got some years on him. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hold on. Let me give you the Palo de Santo. That's the one that bangs. That's the one that bangs. Let me fucking take that bitch up to 161st, and the day after that, after the Bad Bunny concert, just circle the block, just blasting that shit out the car, bro. That'll get him. What do you got for your number two?
Melt My Eyes, See Your Future, Denzel Curry.
Yeah.
John Wayne, Walking. The best track on there is probably Ain't No Way. With Slack.
Whoa, really? That's the cipher, right?
With Slack, Rico Nasty, and JID.
Oh, you think that's the best song?
I think it's the best song.
Okay, interesting.
So then, what you think is the best?
No. No, I really like John Wayne. John Wayne is that, but honestly, there's
so many like good songs on this project, bro. It's like even Troubles with T-Pain. Like T-Pain do not get the appreciation he deserves, bro.
Let's talk about it. T-Pain has been on a fucking tear, bro. So, do you remember that thing? He like was on Instagram the other day, or the other day probably being like a year ago, and where he was like, "Oh shit," he didn't know about that section in the DMs where like. It's like the requested, right? So people that you don't follow. So he said that he had a whole bunch of people reaching out to him, and he had no fucking idea because he didn't know how to access
that is insane.
That like requested section. And so I feel like he's been popping up all over the place, right? Like he was on the deluxe version of AZ's album. He's Here he was on Boogie's album. Yeah, and here just going off on
Going on,
all of
doing
them.
his thing. Like when I was listening to that song, it's called Troubles. The first half of that song, I was like, ooh, okay, but like they really just picked it up and just delivered. T-Pain's verse was immaculate. It was insane. And then Denzel Curry, he just finished it off so well.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things, like even just conceptually, that song is just so good. Like the idea of like having problems that like neither drugs nor like music can fix. Like, god damn, bro, like that's just a terrible place to be in life. Like that may be a proper definition of depression, man. Like, and I think that's why the song is so like genius and. Yeah, it's just really good. I love that song.
From the beat switch and walking to the bars in John Wayne when he was talking about the world is darker than the integration of a Brooklyn Dodger. I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
As a rapper, he just improved so well. Like if people are gonna probably say that Taboo is his project, I think this one is better than Taboo.
Word, yeah. So the thing about Denzel, I was just like self-editing in my head. I was gonna say like my relationship with Denzel has been. I was like, yeah, who the fuck are you, bro? But I like people like all my friends that like know my rap taste expect me to be like a huge Denzel fan because he can spit. He's rapping over like great production, and you know from Kenny Beats and the like. But for whatever reason, like his previous projects didn't really stick in the way that this one did for me. This one, once I got through it twice, I said, "Holy shit!" Like this is the one that's like really converted me to a fan. And so, yeah, like you said, having Robert Glasper on the keys from the top, walking that beat flip, crazy.
Walking crazy.
You see the music video for it? It's kind of sick. Yeah.
Dope shit.
Worst come to worst, like John Wayne. Yeah, like oh my god.
I'ma let that bitch bang.
Yeah, and even bro, once you get down to like Angels and Sanjuro and
Angels is such a good song. It's such a good song.
yeah, like this album is flawless to me. This album is so flawless to me that in my number one category, which is what do I actually think is the best album to have dropped this year, there were 3 albums that I was considering, and this was number 3.
And this was one of them for me too. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Kendrick fan at heart.
Yeah.
And y'all already know what number 1 is. I don't even gotta say.
Okay, all right. So that was your number 2.
Yeah.
All right, so for my number 2, I'm gonna struggle to remember. For my number 2, I want to big up the Underground. I thought that there were 2. Excuse me, fuck. There were 2 albums that I just really, really appreciated that like are in that lane where I know that like they may not get picked up by everybody, but anybody that comes across them will really appreciate them. The one that ultimately ended up winning was Quelle Chris's Death Fame. I really love that album. I think Quelle Chris is one of the wittiest and smartest rappers that's currently doing it. I think that the entire scene that like he's kind of like associated with, the Open Mic Eagles, like Bus Driver, like that. Oh, I guess Bus Driver's name may have changed, and just like a bunch of others, like. The space that they exist in, like they've been just like really defining or expanding what the definition of like good rap can be. And it's not picked up by that many ears, but man, this album just has your brain constantly moving, like, it's just good music at the end of the day. And so this is one of the ones that I definitely want to highlight. Again, another rapper out of Detroit that just doing it, but my second for this subcategory was Elzai, and also again from out of Detroit, his project Zeitgeist with Georgia and Molduro. I mean, the music is just beautiful. Georgia is I believe, multi-instrumentalist that just creates like these beautiful soundscapes, and it's Elzai. it's Alzheimer's. I shouldn't have to tell the people about Alzheimer's, man. It's just like oh my god,
Yeah,
fuck.
he another one of them ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so yes, this was my second place for that category, but ultimately ended up going to Quelle Chris and Death Fame. All right, you're number one.
Don't argue with me. Argue with your mama.
The
Y'all already
blood
know, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. If I talked about this album as much as I talked in that May episode, y'all might get a whole nother hour of this shit. Not gonna lie to you. So what I'm gonna tell y'all is the first half of the album is purely great, just talking about his issues and everything that he has to go through. And the second half is just him accepting him for who he truly is and how he can't change his perspectives to please everybody, please his natural audience. Songs like Father Time, where he tackles father issues, and the feature with Sampha on the chorus is just so amazing. The first 3 tracks alone, like, I remember first listening to this album, I did not know what to do. I really didn't. There were confused. Like, there were so many just emotions going on at one time that it was just, I had to just go in with a blank mind, because that's the only way you could really go into this album. It's a therapy session. This album, like, not to say that Kendrick doesn't love his fans, but this album wasn't for us. It was for him. It was for him, and he needed this album. He needed to show the world who he truly was, so that people wouldn't put him on this pedestal for, say, because even in the track Savior, where he talks about, like, hey, you might see these stars as like the people that you like see as gods almost damn near, but they are not your saviors. Like, they are regular human beings just like we are. Auntie's Diary, and how he talks about, you want to talk about Auntie's Diary? I'm sorry.
Am I our LGBT plus / queer correspondent? Yeah, no, I think that Auntie's Diary very much sounded just like a transparent. It was like a transparent take off on like the average person who doesn't have any experience with that lived experience, trying to make sense of and come to terms with a family member that does identify as such. And I think that while, some could make the case that, the song has its issues, not a perfect song by any means, I do think that it is, one, very honest. I think it, two, brought something to the conversation. Maybe, additional commentary that doesn't need to be like the forefront of that conversation, but it's just like, oh shit, like this is where my head may be if I was trying to, like, if I was in a similar position. Yeah, I don't know. I hope some people appreciate it. But I also think that, aside from the lyrical content, that song is just absolutely beautiful. I really just love kind of just like some of the synth lines that and they're sporadic, like they kind of just pop in and out, but that song, the production on that is beautiful.
You know what I love about the production on this album?
What's up?
That whereas Damn, like, you could, like, it's more outstanding with him, the production, I'm not gonna say plays a background role because it's obviously amazing, but I feel like it played its role so well and just let Kendrick be who he truly is.
Yeah, I think Soundwave was probably on most of this. There's actually, and this is a gripe that I have that I'm gonna air off here because I don't care. One of the producers on the album did an interview with Rolling Stone. And I found like a short segment of it on Twitter, and I was trying to read the full article, and there was like a paywall for Rolling Stone. I'm not gonna pay to read Rolling Stone.
No, never.
I literally went out of my way to go find a magazine stand and go read it for free. I'm not like that's anyway. But yeah, the production here was great.
And then I feel like one of the underrated songs was, and not a lot of people talk about this song. Me and him play all the time though. Is "Count Me Out." Just
Count Me Out's the one.
Just the build out on that song is insane. And then just the ending, like, "This is me and I'm blessed." This is like crazy.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, there's just so much to say about this album, but I truly do love it. It also made my number one spot, but I'm going to talk about the other two albums that were in close competition. But Kendrick, man, he's just the one, and I think that, I mean, I don't mind having the arguments with other people that, I think that I feel very comfortable debating Kendrick being the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a generational divide on that. I know that having that argument against somebody that like is well versed in everything Jay-Z is going to be a difficult fucking argument. Same thing for somebody that were to say Rakim or any of the other greats, but in the generation that I'm in, from what I'm able to witness, like the contemporary, he's the one, and this is just another one to cement that slot. Oh, and I think this is a really interesting conversation to add to it. As Wolf and others have pointed out, maybe not the easiest of listening, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about like songs like "We Cry Together" with like Taylor Page, or even bro, just like in between United in Grief,
N95 and
what's the one
Worldwide
right after
Stepper-
N95?
Worldwide Steppers, when he's talking about fucking a white bitch.
Yeah, like sometimes you don't want to hear that. And I completely understand that, right? Same thing for, I've heard people, I've seen this actually a lot more than I care to, but people saying that To Pimp a Butterfly wasn't as good as like everybody heralded as at the time.
Cap.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
y'all lying.
fuck that.
Y'all
No.
know y'all lying.
Yeah.
Come on, let's
All
not
right,
do
cool.
that.
Gentlemen, we got some good fucking lads in this room.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. To Pimp a Butterfly is the one for me. Like that will always be the one for me.
Same.
But I do understand that some people might say that, that's not what everybody wants to hear, and what can I do? Respectfully, exactly.
All right.
All right, so that was your number one. Yeah. Also my number one. Oh, sorry.
Shout out to Kodak Black, by the way. I'm surprised like we completely did not mention him in that whole thing. You played I know a lot of people that were like, Kodak didn't need to be on the album. He didn't need to be on the album. He played his role perfectly.
Nah, on Silent Hill, bro.
Yeah, he spazzed. Oh, and I think also in defining, like you were saying, like Kendrick defining more of himself and just giving kind of just like kind of just being transparent.
Yeah.
The line, I'm more Kodak Black than pro Black, right? That's not it quoted, but in essence, that is just like it makes a lot more sense. Like I think that there's just like that, and combined with songs like "I'm Not Your Savior," it's hey, like I am just over here doing this thing. I got problems just like you got problems. I just happen to be able to bar your fucking head off if you say anything. I'm the best to ever do it. But being the best doesn't necessarily make you a god per se. And yeah, I think that the song was incredible and an excellent display of that message. Yeah. At number two, or I guess, at my number two of number one, is Pusha T. It's Almost Dry.
Smokers shine the coops.
Yeah. So, like when we were talking about, I Know Negos, Hear Me Clearly. That was the record where I was like, I pray to God that this song is on this Push album because it is so good. I definitely do think, kind of just to feed into the argument, Pharrell washed Kanye West sounds crazy because it's Kanye West.
But he did.
I just don't like the sound.
Yeah,
of
it don't sound good.
Yeah. But I said it. Fuck it. It's Kanye coming. That's Yeezus coming to spite me. Yeah, man. I think that from Let the Smoker Shine the Coupe is like that standout one, right? Dreaming of the Past. Hey, that's where Kanye really does show his ass, right? Like it's great. Neck and Wrist, that Jay feature.
Neck and Wrist.
And I think Pusha T is one of my favorite villains. Like aside from like the Griselda crew, I think he does that like dark cocaine rap. I'm telling you about fly shit. Do you know what Breitling is?
No.
Exactly, bro. Go learn about some planes and go learn about some watches, bro. Pusha T's been trying to put you on. And it's when you really take the time to kind of like dive into it, man. I think, and the same thing could be said for Denzel Washington's album and also for Kendrick's. This is one of those where the execution just feels flawless throughout. Like there's not a single line, beat, interlude on here that feels out of place. Like everything is meticulous to a T. Even down to like the laugh that we now have from like Push, right? Like instead of the like this shit, like that. Like it's good. And I think that in previous, I really like. There's no Push album that I don't like.
Yeah, his consistency is
A1.
Yeah, no.
But I think that sometimes I'll get a song that doesn't really feel like what I need. I think like the one that sometimes will stand out to me is his song with like Jill Scott. And you know how much I love Jill Scott.
Yeah, I think it's called Sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine I just didn't need. And I think around the same time he may have been like running around with Hillary Clinton. Don't know that we need to bring that back up, but anyway. And so the combination of the two, he just was like, Push, I see you doing your thing. And also, how are you going to say no to either of those opportunities, right? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, on here, I don't feel like we got any of those songs that were just like, don't need this. And yeah, this Push album is the flawless Push album to me.
Really?
Yeah. What's the counter to that? Oh, Daytona.
Like, come on. Daytona, bro. That's 7 for 7 right there. Speaking Spanish and shit. Like, come on, bro. Come on.
Wait a minute.
Daytona is...
Wait. Do you remember the Kanye verse on Daytona? What will Meek do? I was trying to remember if that made a skip worthy. Now I was trying to save my statement, but no, I think you're right. Yeah, all right, cool. So I guess, since Daytona, and even King Push, like the prelude. I wonder if we're ever going to get like an actual like King
Push 2.
No, it would just be the actual King Push because this is called the prelude. Or that one was called the prelude. Yeah, there were some skips on there for sure. But anyway, this one. 2022 has been a good year, and we have
really
all of these fucking artists to thank. And I also think that, it's easy to miss these, right? So often in like the hip hop news media space, you get so-and-so is doing so-and-so that's completely unrelated to the music at all. And we kind of just want to just like really center on the music, the art at the end of the day. It's a beautiful culture. We should all take pride in, fucking just playing a part in it, and enjoy the music. We'll put some playlists together. We'll go out, see some concerts, and we'll appreciate the artists the way in which they should be. And so this is our top 5, which Matt's made sense and mine was nuts. But thank you as always. We appreciate everybody who watched.
Before we say peace, follow me on Instagram at _Matt Creates and follow him at CSimK.
You're
No Rappers Left Behind.
You know what it is.
Peace.
All right. Sick.